that you do abstract and painting. And tell me, like, I hope we talk about that mat because I watched a whole bunch of episodes trying to find you talking about it, but I didn't hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we can get into it before we get in. I'm a visual artist, and I actually had an extra piece of canvas lying in my studio area a few years ago, and I was like, I've never painted the United States, so I
Mm.
just kind of went for it, and then it turned into this. And the previous logo I had, my wife was like, I think you need a new logo. So I picked this and made it my logo. And the original one is in her room. She's an English teacher, high
Okay.
school English teacher. So yeah, that's kind of the story. And I have shows in Kansas City. I donate artwork to the Folly Theater. They have an annual art show. And then Buttonwood is like a really cool hybrid financial services outfit. But John McGraw owns it, and he's a jazz guy. So it's like a business, but there's paintings everywhere, and they have shows, and they get into it. So they're really jazz and art oriented. So I usually have shows there too. So it's cool.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. I
So,
like it.
yeah, a lot of things going on. Well, I'm looking forward to diving into your world and the work that you're doing. So, thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Should get my book ready in case you ask.
Oh, I will. I definitely will. And I love visuals, so I'll be all for it. I love that cat back there that you got
Thanks.
behind you.
Yeah. Oh, this is Airbnb. This is my place.
Whoever has that, I love it. Whenever I see a cat pop up, it's good. It makes
Yeah.
me feel good. You
Yeah.
know? So,
Same.
so before we get into your work, I want to know this. 6 years ago, this pandemic changed our lives, changed so much about what we did. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed you and the way that you approach things today?
I love that you're having this conversation. I've watched many of your episodes and that you're actually creating a document. I think
Yeah,
going into COVID, I thought everybody's going through this together. Like it's wild how different everybody's
I
experience
know.
was all the way through.
Yeah,
I am an introvert. I am an analytical thinker. I like being by myself. I treasure that. And so when COVID happened, I was like, great, everybody take a time out. Let's all just like go to your room and stay there for a minute. When they said, okay, it's okay to come out, and I'm like, 5 more minutes, just give me 5 more. But I'm a lifelong nomad. And when COVID hit, it put the kibosh on that. And for the first time, in my life, I was living by myself and I was not interacting with other people. And those two things, I rented a tiny little cabin behind a fraternity house in Santa Cruz. And for the first time in my life, I was living by myself. And I'd never learned what it was like to be just with me. I was conditioned to always like be like taking care of my space in terms of my roommate and such. And so I learned a lot about myself. I'd always wanted to learn how to cook. Like I was a scrappy, go to the grocery store and buy some deli meat kind of like survivalist, but I'd never learned to cook. And when COVID hit, man, I introduced myself to the kitchen. I started having fun in there.
yep,
And now I rarely eat out, which is probably better for my health and all that. But
yeah,
speaking on the work side, I teach communications. I help people get up on big stages and deliver impactful presentations. And when COVID hit, all of that went.
yeah,
So not only was I not traveling anymore, my business shifted, but all of those same people had to learn how to do it online.
yeah,
And it was great because I'd been doing it online for about 6 years prior to some degree. And I was like, welcome to my world. Let me show you how this virtual thing works. Now we're all masters of it. But
yeah,
um, this is all to say, I found a lot of silver lining
yeah.
in the experience. And it's impactful for me to witness how it changed so many different people. I don't have kids. I wasn't in a relationship. It was easier for me to like take a pause. So thank you for asking that.
Yeah, and I want to put this question to rest, but it's so prevalent. So many people embrace it, and I think that it's going to take a long time for us to unravel it. And it's a little bit like talk therapy. It's a way of kind of encapsulating, so to speak, that era. But I find it interesting that more than like 95% of everybody, it's overwhelmingly positive. Like we all know the biological woe. We know what was going on and what was causing stress. And but I think at the end of the day, I think there was people that grabbed onto this in a different way. And I was surprised during that time. The toilet paper thing was weird. And that was
That
just
was weird.
herd group think thing. But I think the thing that surprised me was I expected the liquor store to be empty, and it wasn't.
Same.
It just wasn't. And I think that there's a lot of people that embraced the idea that, we're going to go out and we're going to do this the right way. So it's a good thing. So let's get into what your role is as a communications guy. Let's put you in front of a bunch of grade schoolers, 12 years old. It's career day, and a kid in the back of the room is like, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you synthesize what you do for a living to make it digestible to them?
You know how you get a brilliant idea and you want to get other people excited about that idea and then join you and create something great together? In order to do that, you have to learn how to communicate in a way that connects your message with that other person. Building relevance, learning to listen in a way, building nuance. But this is complicated for a grade schooler. Your brain operates a certain way when it's listening and interacting to other people. It's important to understand how the brain operates, and you operate a certain way when you're in groups of people. So when you understand how the brain works, how people operate together, and how to create your message in a way that builds relevance and connection, then you're going to get the whole neighborhood together to build that fort that you've been wanting to build and get investors worldwide and take this thing global.
So, what's interesting about communications is that when I went to school, I went to the University of Missouri, Kansas City,
Hmm.
and I wanted to get into broadcasting, but they didn't have a program. So I got into
Yeah.
communication studies. And I loved it to study like how they advertise to us, how 80% of what we do is nonverbal,
Yeah.
20% is talking, just all of the different avenues by which we decide to speak and how we speak and what we do. Like I usually will watch sports with the volume down because then I can read what they're saying. I know what their whole body language is. I know what they're calling each other. I know what they're saying. The only time I won't is if they have that thing up around their mouth, which they're probably doing it for the mute people at home. But that's the thing. It's like I can read all of that in such a clear. Anyway, I just find it fascinating that for all of us that take a minute to really hone in, there's so much that we understand. I mean, think about animals. Animals have never
Hmm.
spoken to us, but we can always read vibes and how they, right? So there you go. There's your example of nonverbal communication with
Yeah.
animals, you
It's
know?
real. It's real. And I went to the University of Kansas, the
Yeah.
School of Journalism, and that's where I was introduced to communication. I learned early on, I heard an important speaker once say, you make a living with your voice. Your ability to communicate is what determines your success. If you
Yes.
can't communicate your ideas out there, you're always going to be a cog in the wheel or a soldier. But if you can communicate, you can go places. And I remember in my first journalism class and advertising, I also did the broadcast. It's a lot of fun. I see the joy in what you're saying.
Yeah.
They said, watch a commercial with the sound off. If you don't understand the commercial, that's a bad commercial because most people do mute when the commercials come on.
Yeah.
And that's when I got tuned into, wow, there's a whole lot more to communication than just the words that we're saying. To
And
your point, our amygdala is like searching for like safety environment. And so we're reading millions of tiny little cues about the other person before we even start processing what they're saying.
yeah. I mean, and two, a lot of those commercials are tapping into subliminal or subconscious things that aren't necessarily in our brain at the surface, but if you watch what's happening, it's tapping into all of those motives and they know what they're doing. It's like they have a team of psychologists that know what buttons to push, what
Yeah.
things look like other things that are approximations. It's wild, man. Really, it's really
What
wild.
colors evoke what
Uh-huh.
feelings and majority of people. Yeah, there's so much to it. Yeah.
Like,
And you can
no,
take that into when you want to make an impression,
yeah.
you can be that thoughtful.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people, and I work almost predominantly with like STEM scientists, analytical, data-driven leaders who rely on their data. And my goal is to help them come out from behind their data and connect through stories and through more effective communication so that their data actually lands and is not just the piece that they're trying to offer.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to take you back to that classroom when you were 12, 13 years old. What was your dream job? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live.
Okay, I love it.
Two reasons. One, Carol Burnett show and Saturday Night Live were the two times where my family got together and would just laugh. And we would just, and so that like engendered in me this desire to be a part of whatever it is that's creating that sense of cohesion within the family network. So yeah, being on Saturday Night Live was my dream when I was a kid.
Absolutely. So I'm a tech guy by day for a school district. I'm a technician.
Oh,
So I went to a conference to present on podcasting of all things. And
cool.
of all people in the Ozarks, Rob Riggle was the special guest. So what's that?
I don't know who he is. I'm
So
sorry.
Rob Riggle is he's the comedian. He was on the Daily Show as a correspondent. He's been in
Okay,
all these films with Will Ferrell. He's kind of the bigger dude with dark hair.
got it.
And he did some commentating for Fox for a while for football, but he's had a really wonderful long career in comedy. And when he was there, he came out and he told us this whole story about how when he got out of the military, he wanted to be on Saturday Night Live and he gave himself 10 years. And he did it. And he literally, like, at the end of that 10th year, he had like a piece of paper or something. Somehow he reminded himself he made it. And it was awesome. So when you said that, I immediately thought to that whole idea of dreaming things into existence. And he did it, totally did it.
Yeah. One of the steps of becoming a more effective communicator is to visualize yourself in that situation, to set that ideal. I tell all of my clients, identify five people who you think are effective in the leadership or communication that you hope to embody. Identify what it is about they're doing, and then make that your target. If you can spot it, you've got it. All you got to do is take the courage to risk, look a little awkward, and keep trying, and you'll get there.
That's
It's
it.
improv from
Yeah.
the jazz world, right?
Absolutely, it is for sure. So you have roots in Kansas City. Take me back to your beginnings. How did getting into Saturday Night Live, communications, all of these things, how did this all evolve into your career and who you are today?
The essence is my father spoke at conferences. My mother facilitated team events. Between the two of them, I was witnessing them being jazzed and lit up from this experience. And I thought, well, I want to do that. I when I get older. And I'm an introvert, so when I got up on that stage, my voice just and it disappeared. My voice just completely, and I was like, how did my body betray me? And my analytical brain said, we're going to figure this out. And I studied neuroscience, cognitive psychology, organizational behavior. I wanted to understand what's happening in the world of communication so that I can overcome whatever that body betrayal was. And for the last 20 years, I have been primarily helping STEM leaders convey their incredible brilliance to audiences that don't speak the same zero and ones as they do.
What was the best speech that you've ever witnessed in your life? Something that transformed the way that you viewed how humans walk on a stage?
Oh gosh, there's that it's hard for me to do the best questions. Like there's my analytical brain says, no, you got to get this perfect. You got to find the one. It's the Matrix. Wait,
Yeah.
you weren't asking for my favorite movie. There are several of them. I think Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech is it's epic for so many reasons, and Lincoln's Gettysburg has so many qualities too. Almost there's a dozen speeches that Obama has given that still resonate with me, and Maya Angelou as well. What first came to mind, I'll just be honest, there's a TED talk of this person who gets up and I'm going to give you a TED talk and I'm going to sound like I'm saying something important. I'm going to point to the screen and have you look at the screen. And he breaks down the art of communication in public speaking without saying anything. And it's both humorous and enlightening. Like he calls out all of the different steps that you need to do in such a brilliant way. So I'll give my nod to him. I forget his name, but it is a brilliant TED. I think he's a TEDx. Go watch it.
I'll look it up for sure. So I remember in '08, my son was probably 2 or 3 at the time, 4, I think. and we went up and saw Obama during the campaign speak at the Liberty Memorial,
Oh,
and
wow.
I had to leave a little early because he was ready to go. It was a cold day, but leaving that and listening to Obama so eloquently speak over Kansas City, because as you leave, you can see downtown. That was one of the more crystallized marquee moments of a human being absolutely put an oratory to the test in a way that was like, wow, this
Yeah.
is the guy. He's
Yeah.
amazing.
And
Absolutely.
from Kansas, like Kansas roots too. Like
Yeah, I
there's so
know.
much to that. He's my favorite orator, and I think he's held the seat of president better than anyone I know in terms of being able to communicate with the people, make it relevant, impress upon everyone the importance of doing something. I miss that level of communication, but
I miss every single thing about him in 2026 right now.
yeah,
S-
right now.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Who has been your hero? Who's been your inspirational force that's allowed you to find your footing, to find your way to where you're at today in life?
It's my father.
Yeah.
Without question, it's my father. He has a ability to remain neutral on all of the hot topics, listening and validating the truth that anybody brings to around anything. And he's still able to have a hard line, hold boundaries, not tolerate whatever needs to be put to bed. And he's an entrepreneur. He taught me that you just keep getting up. Like you wanna, if you fall, you just get up and do it again. What did you learn? Great. Now go put that into practice next time.
So before you became a digital nomad, the beginnings were in Kansas City, and you talked about KU, you've talked about clubs. As a jazz radio guy, I got to know, what were some of the clubs and cats that you saw that
Yeah,
swayed you?
it's so long ago now,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say. And there was a vocalist, female in a piano bar that every time I would go and I would just listen to her and she would do scat, all that, and I would just lose my mind. But then there's another woman, and I think the club is closed. It was just a little bit south of Westport, and she sang "You Can Have My Husband, Don't Mess with My Man," and she like that the way she brought that song to life. I would offer this though. I know that Kansas City is the jazz, but I spend 1 week every year in New Orleans on Frenchman Street, just night and day, just wandering from one club to the next, listening to whatever. And the I mean, you could, if you find me during that week, during that, I'll be just in heaven.
So I was supposed to go there on my honeymoon in 19, and there was a hurricane brewing. So
Oh,
it was on the list. You're talking about the point, I believe you're talking about Ida Macbeth.
that sounds right. Yes.
She was always there. She was an
Yes.
icon. Unfortunately,
Yes.
we lost her about a year or so ago, I believe, but
Mm.
she was the queen. She did it. She did it the right way. And I
She
remember
did.
that era. It was like, yeah, and there were so many singers that emulated that. And we've gotten to that point now where there's a whole crop of musicians that come from that bridge. The bridge just keeps getting built farther
Yeah.
and farther. So it's wonderful. So I'm curious, what is it when the alarm clock goes off in the morning that allows you to do this work, to change lives, to stay on top of helping people communicate and figure out how to do it well, and to take care of your own soul? What is that energy for you every day?
I have an imposter monster that tells me I don't belong in every new situation that I belong in. And I know from doing this work that there are other people out there that get into situations and don't feel like they belong. I keep doing this work to empower those people to use their voice in a way that actually has impact, to feel that they own that seat at the table and they can take that idea, whatever that idea is, and put it forward and build momentum to create the change that we need right now in America.
So, speaking of America right now, and creating that hope and that light, what makes you hopeful? We all have to be in that boat right now, but what is that for you?
I want to be honest in that after the events that have been taking place recently, I actually went into AI and I said, give me some good news about America. And it just listed up and it helped me remember that it's factors. There are factors. When something is evolving and getting bigger, there's always going to be a little bit of negative, but that doesn't discount the fact that there's still so much more positive that is
Yes.
happening.
Yep.
Our news, our media, and our politics right now are trying to keep us focused on the negative, to keep us agitated and act like unable to actually function. We're in survival mode, but there is 80% good in the world in America right now. And what gives me hope is that there are channels and groups and people that are pointing towards that
Yep.
hope and reminding people to to step away from social media for a minute, like focus back in on what's happening and what's going well. That's what gives me hope. What about you?
Yeah, I same thing. I think being in this podcasting world is a huge dose of inspiration for me because there's so many wonderful human beings that are doing great work. And I think when you get in this world, it kind of becomes void of political affiliation. I think there's
Mhm.
this gray area where we're all going towards these same things. We're doing it differently, but we're all doing it. I think our hearts are good. I think you hear that people are inherently good from the word go, and we get kind of contaminated. But I think the best thing right now is the detox, like you said, the whole constant barrage of things. Because you're
Mhm.
right, the level of people and what we typically done as Americans and what we have typically done, there's so much good that goes into it. And yeah, and I hear about people talking about an age of enlightenment. We're in a democracy and we're really young. And when you go to Europe, you realize that. And there's hiccups that happen in any form of government that is going to be as bountiful as a democracy. So there's going to be these things. And my hope for right now is that we're watching a template we never ever want to recreate again.
I agree. We're watching an iteration of a previous template used by other power hungry authoritarian. And it's an expansion, it's a new iteration, but that means there's also an expansion and new iteration of something better.
Yeah,
Like sometimes we have to tear down some of the constructs to build something bigger. And that's my hope. Like we're in the painful metamorphosis of the butterfly
yeah,
right now.
certainly. So if you had a dream tonight and ran into the 18-year-old version of you and you had a big book in your hand and it was like a coffee table book and it was your life so far and you handed it over, would that young version of you believe that you've lived this life?
Oh, absolutely not. I grew up in Kansas
Right.
and I traveled the world as a nomad for 30 years. Come on. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a wild and wonderful adventure. I actually graduated from KU and moved to New Zealand because it was the furthest place on the planet from Kansas.
Uh-huh.
I was that desperate to get away from myself.
Yeah.
I always thought I was trying to get away from Kansas. It wasn't. I was trying to get away from me that I couldn't love. And then as I journeyed, I learned to love myself.
Yep.
I learned to love other people, experience all the other cultures, and keep coming back to my passions, jazz, chocolate, and coffee.
Absolutely. Hallelujah. So, of everything that you've done and accomplished and become, what are you the proudest of?
Oof. Uncle, being an uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have very little control of that, but
Uh,
showing up as an uncle,
Yes.
showing up authentically as the uncle, there's so many times I know as a parent, you're having to do this on a much a higher frequency, but as an uncle, like I have the option of curating what they see about my life and pushing myself to be authentic with them. It's been a blessing.
Absolutely. So, at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you family, friends, clients, everyone that you get to know, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm a constantly evolving, naively courageous force for good on this planet, trying to support and impact those who I believe don't always feel like they belong or feel like they have a voice, to let them recognize, hear the voice, and take it further.
So, when you see that big word retirement flash in your mind, what do you think?
Thank God. I don't think I'm ever going to retire. Like,
Yeah.
I love what I do so much. I'll do it in different ways as I go. My goal right now is to see my book achieve some measure of success. I put 20 years of communication coaching into this book, and I want to see it get to the next line. And then once I reach that step, I'll have the next version. I'm not sure where I'm going.
So, as a digital nomad, what's one of the most unexpectedly magical places you've been in that you've traveled to?
Porto, Portugal, blew me away. It
Okay.
was such an enchanting hill top. I mean, hill town on a little river, but it's like all hills and just little villages. It's, oh man, go there. Go there. Have you been?
I haven't. I need to. I'd love to get to Portugal. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I mean, and I should be saying Italy. All of Italy was amazing. The food, the
Yes.
people, the fashion, the culture, all of it was
Uh-huh.
amazing,
Yeah.
of course.
Oh,
What
it
about you?
is. You know, probably Cinque Terre in Italy. I went to Vernazza, and I
Oh,
remember going down at the end of that, at the end of that, that little, I
strip.
don't know, it was that strip there, and I had never seen the night sky that dark in my life. I was like,
Uh,
wow. All the stars were out. There was a little boat out there, and I was there on September 13th. 2001, I was in a water taxi in Venice when 9/11 happened. So I was there 2 days later. This is the trippiest thing about it. The whole time leading up to it, I was reading all of these books from Rick Steves to get these ideas. I walk in that town and Rick Steves is literally there with the microphone and a
come
camera.
on.
He's filming a segment in Vernaz. I'm like, no way, dude. No
That
way.
is awesome.
So I reached out to his people to see if he would interview about how he got back home, his
Yeah,
experience, and I was
yeah.
real close. And they were like, he just can't pull it off, but he loves the story. But it was comfort. At that point, I wanted to let him know. I felt as the world was kind of drifting into weird places. Rick
Hmm.
Steves pulled me back in because it was like that was the compass needle that I used to get there, the inspiration, and he was there during a time where there was total uncertainty. I mean, my flight from Paris to Kansas City just didn't exist after it happened. I didn't know how I was going to get home. So anyway, it was a trip for sure. Um,
If you couldn't get home and you were stuck in Cinque Terre, I mean, how rough would that
yeah,
be?
exactly. That's it would have been okay. So show me your book if anybody wants to get a copy, anybody wants to hire you, they have questions, any of the good business in your world, where do they go?
Go to clearingcompellingplaybook.com. Clearingcompellingplaybook.com. It's access to my resource library as well as you can figure out how to get the book when you it's going to be re-released in October of 2026 through a New York publisher.
Okay.
And find me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Let me know what works, what's stressful about public speaking for you. I love hearing and learning how people are navigating this world.
Perfect. I will put all those links in the show notes. What an absolute joy. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Great to meet
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for your work, your spirit. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.